Greetings everyone, rudyxx here for another special edition of MMO Quest. I had been wanting to do videos about my history with both Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV, despite not really leveling characters recently, as well as I wanted to give my opinions about the leveling process in both games. I decided to split the videos for Final Fantasy XI, since my history with the game is long enough that it basically needs its own video, and eventually opted to do only one video for Final Fantasy XIV. So let's get started with Final Fantasy XIV then. Final Fantasy XIV came out in 2010 and was a horrible debacle of a game. Shortly before they planned on shutting the servers down for a month or something like that to conserve power at Square Enix, I managed to pick up a copy of the Collector's Edition online for $10. At the time, the game was considered so horribly bad that no one even wanted the Collector's Edition, so I managed to get away with quite a steal. I mostly played the game on and off during holiday events, and that was basically it. By the time I got around to playing 1.0, it wasn't a horrible pile of garbage, but it was definitely still garbage. When A Realm Reborn came out, I had issues with my PC that prevented me from playing the game, but I was still pretty hyped about it, so I played the game on my laptop at a wonderful 9 to 15 frames per second. I managed to hit level cap, and I stuck around for a little while, but the insanely low resolution I had to keep the game at, and the amazingly low frame rate it ran at, eventually got to me, and I moved on from the game for a while. I started the game as a warrior. After hitting level cap, I gave Black Mage a go. But once I hit level cap on that job, I just ended up switching back to warrior before I quit. When I returned to the game a few patches later, I decided I wanted to try out Dragoon, and I stuck with that for a while. Eventually I switched over to Bard, and finished out 2.0 basically alternating between Bard and Warrior. For those of you unfamiliar with the game, you may notice I listed playing as several different classes. In other games, this would mean that so far I had 4 different characters, but in reality I just had one. Final Fantasy XIV doesn't really work like a lot of MMORPGs, in the sense that you can only be one class as you play through the game, and if you want to try something else, then you have to make a billion other alts. Final Fantasy XIV actually allows you to change classes on the fly, and each class has its own level associated with it. So one minute I could be a summoner, and the next I could be an armorsmith, and then later on I could switch over to being a monk. It's a very convenient thing to not have to do so much stuff over and over on a bunch of alts. What's also great is that the game is set up in a way that prevents you from running out of options in terms of leveling as well. You might eventually run out of regular quests to do, but the game also features an infinite quest system known as levs that allow you to repeat quests over and over again, if I guess that's your thing. Final Fantasy XIV also features a dungeon system that allows you to queue up for dungeons regardless of your level. You can only queue up to a dungeon whose level is equal to or lower than your own, but even if you are level 40 and want to help your best friend who is level 25 out, you can both queue up for the level 25 and lower dungeons and play together at no real detriment to anyone. The game features a level syncing system that takes the higher level player and puts them at the lower level player's level. It's incredibly convenient, as I mentioned before, as it allows you to level up any job you want without really running out of options for dungeons. And speaking of level syncing systems, the game also has events known as fates that spawn on the world map that are short little quest type deals where you have to complete an objective in a certain amount of time for a bit of experience points. When you join a fate, you sync your level down to that of the fate so that they don't exactly get steamrolled by higher level players, and everyone earns experience points accordingly. If none of those things interest you in terms of leveling, you can also earn experience points by doing PvP battles. The game automatically adjusts everyone's skills and stats when you join a PvP battle so that everyone is on equal footing no matter their level. It's also a nice break from the monotony of some of the other leveling options there are. And if you didn't think that was enough leveling options, there's also a system in place known as Palace of the Dead, where you and up to 3 other adventurers go through randomly generated dungeons. The dungeons have certain tasks that must be completed in order to progress, but for the most part it's a very relaxing way to level up. So at this point you might think this game is nothing but leveling, but that's not true. There's a ton of different things you can do besides leveling, but I'll get back into that later. And anyways, as I was saying before, I finished out A Realm Reborn as a warrior basically. Shortly before Heavensward came out though, I decided to dive into the world of multi-boxing. While my main character, Yellow Rabbite, has always been a Miqo'te, my alt, Black Rabbite, originally started out as a Hyur. Shortly before marrying the two characters, I fantasia'd Black Rabbite into a Miqo'te, and then eventually when Heavensward came out, I changed her into an Ara. While it seems a little silly to have multiple characters in this game, I like dual boxing, so I had quite a fun time with these two over the years. As Heavensward eventually came out, I once again played through the main story and then quit the game again for a while after about a month. I really loved Heavensward, and while I really wanted to go all in on the game, in more recent years it's been difficult for me to consistently play the game, so joining a free company and raiding has been out of the question. So basically at this point my options for things to do other than the leveling were pretty limited, and I decided to focus my life more on something else for a while. I eventually went back to the game a few patches later and played catch-up for a bit. I continued to play on and off for a while, but never really managed to catch Black Rabbite up with things. For the most part, I stuck with playing Bard and Warrior through the expansion once again. Eventually, I really only logged into PvP for a few hours, and that was most of my Heavensward experience, to be honest. Once Stormblood came out, I had decided I was going to take the game seriously this time, and I was going to go all in with it, and it was going to be awesome. Unfortunately, I ran into the same problem as I had with Heavensward, where I just got tired of playing the game and felt like doing something else. Now, that's not to say that the game is boring, there's tons of stuff to do, and I really adored the Stormblood experience. It's fantastically done, and all the fights are amazing. Unfortunately, I am still pretty hesitant towards joining a free company, so my options are incredibly limited. Now, I am fully aware that it's me that's the issue here, and not the fault of the game in any way. I just don't have the drive to dedicate myself to one MMORPG. That's just my personality. I love playing MMORPGs, and I love the experience of playing with so many people, but it's really hard for me to focus on any one thing for any length of time. So eventually I did get around to catching up with everything on both Yellow and Black Rabbites, and at the point of making this video, both my characters are caught up story-wise. I did make some amount of an attempt to gear up when the expansion first came out, especially since I play as a tank character on Yellow Rabbite and a healing character on Black Rabbite. It's incredibly easy to get into basically anything as a tank, or a healer for that matter, considering how high in demand they are. Anyways, that's basically it. My experience was kind of short-lived, but I definitely enjoyed the time I have played the game. I love Final Fantasy XIV, and would continue to play it when I feel like it. I don't have any issues with the game whatsoever. I think it's very well done, and unfortunately I just don't have the personality to be in a situation that will allow me to focus on it solely. For now, I'll probably just keep doing all the great casual content they have in the game, like raising and racing chocobos, or playing Triple Triad. And in any case, I'm really glad I've had the opportunity to share my feelings on Final Fantasy XIV with everyone. If you've never played the game and really love Final Fantasy, I would strongly suggest playing it. Or, if you're just a fan of MMORPGs in general, it's an incredibly well done MMORPG that features more time-wasting content than any other MMO I've ever played. The amount of variety and things that you can actually do in this game is completely ridiculous. And at any rate, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel here on YouTube, or alternately, if you'd like to follow along with my gaming experiences as I play through things live, you can follow my Twitch TV stream at twitch.tv/rudyxx. Thanks again everyone, and until next time, happy gaming!